Now that we've figured out the price ID and the cost ID, we can just use all the different parts of this function. So if I go up here and I simply copy the rest of this and paste it down here, I can use these IDs. So notice I've got the quantity ID being sent to me. So everywhere there's a quantity ID, I can replace it. Now this is a variable, not a string, so I don't want this in quotes. I want to use the value of that variable. And I'm going to need to do that in every place that there's a quantity ID. And then for price ID, there's only one of these, but I want to replace the price ID with that variable, price ID, and the variable cost ID will replace the totals, so the ones that have total in them. And there, so now I've replaced all the hard-coded IDs with ones that I've computed using the quantity ID that was sent. So now we can call this with any quantity ID and it will work. So let's try that. So now let's use that to add an event handler to this quantity ID. So now the event handler I want to add in the add listeners function. So I'm going to make sure I'm inside there. And this is going to be an event handler for the quantity of adults in the complete package. Okay, so I still want to add the event listener, so I'm going to use document.getElementById, and here I've got to figure out the ID. So I want to go to the adult movie ticket inside this Movie Plus section, and I'm going to get the quantity ID. It's adult quantity. And that's what I want to put in here is the adult quantity. And here I'm going to be adding the event listener. And again, I'm going to do this on the change event, and I'll create an anonymous function that's going to happen. All right, now I know what the quantity ID is, and that's what I'm going to need to call this function. So I can just use that, and the function is called update cost. So I do update cost, and I send it this adult quantity. And let's see what happens. So now if I put a 3 in there, look at that, it updates it. And the total is updated. So it did everything, and all I had to do was write a function that I can call over and over again. So I can call it with any element that I want. And all I have to do is send it the quantity ID, and the function is called. And that way I'm not repeating code. I figured out a way to write a function that does what I need, and then I just call that function whenever I need it with the correct argument.